Hi there. Good evening. Adrian here, Quantum Leap Consulting. How are you this evening? Now, we just went live. We're going to give it a few minutes to see if we can get some more people onto the broadcast there. We are live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and on YouTube today. So hopefully everybody gets to see it. And if not, we will always have the recording so everybody will be able to catch up on the recording at any time. So, excuse me for a second. We're going to give it another maybe 30 seconds or so to see, give the opportunity for some more people to join. And then we're going to get started. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I hope everybody can see us okay. And I must say, I'm really looking forward to having the show on this evening. So also, if I am on my own here today, ordinarily I would have somebody else with me to help look at messages and try and prompt me with questions and stuff like that. So apologies in advance if I'm not able to answer questions, but any sort of comments or anything that go in to either Facebook, LinkedIn, or indeed on YouTube itself, I will follow up afterwards and I'll come back to anybody to answer any questions that might or may not come up. So we shall get started. So thank you very, very much for joining us here this evening. I'm delighted to be here. Wednesday, the 12th of April, starting at 7 p.m. We're going to go into a 1-hour special masterclass on how to master your success mindset. And we're going to go into a little bit of details. I have 5 steps, which I'll go into towards the end of the broadcast. But before we get that far, there's quite a few things that I think I would need to share with people in relation to what mindset is, how to get into mindset, and why it's important. So success is 95% mindset, only 5% system. So success itself is a very, very individual thing. So it doesn't matter what it is that you want. All that really matters is that you want it. And when it comes to success for me, I'm sure is very different than what success for some other people is. Success for me is I'm trying to build a business. I'm a father of 2 amazing little girls and a husband to an amazing wife also. So success for me is being able to grow my business, be a good father, and be a great husband. And we have a very great definition of success that I came across a few years ago, and it essentially says that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So success is not the destination. Success is the journey. It's all about every step that you take closer to achieving what it is that you want to achieve, you can consider yourself to be successful. And that's, I know, something that a lot of people get tripped up on is they go, well, I haven't reached my goal yet, or we'll talk about goals a little bit later, so maybe they haven't even set their goals yet, so people feel like a failure. But don't worry about that. Failure is only when you don't try. Success is every step that you take towards achieving what it is that you want to achieve. You can consider yourself to be successful because you're getting that little bit closer to it each and every time. Excuse me. So the first step, I suppose, to achieving anything really is to decide what it is that you want. And for a lot of people, that can be a very difficult conversation to have with themselves. I know Bob Proctor, who was my mentor in the Proctor Gallagher Institute, used to always say that you could stand on any street corner in any major city around the world, and you could stop the first 100 people who came past and ask them, each and every person, did they have a goal? And odds are pretty high that 90+% of people would say that they didn't have a goal. And that they didn't know what they were chasing, they didn't know what it was that they wanted. And I would concur with that. Most of the people who I ask what it is that they want, what is their goal, they would say, well, I'm not 100% sure what it is that I want, but I know that I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be unemployed. I don't want to be unhappy, or I don't want to be alone. But they're very unsure about writing down exactly what it is that they do want. And when it comes to setting goals and when it comes to deciding what it is that you want, it's not a very, very difficult process at all. But if you do find it difficult, what I would suggest for people to do really would be to get a pen and a piece of paper. I think we say this all the time within the PGI. This is all that you need in order to change your life, to change your world. Really, is a pen and a piece of paper. It's the most powerful piece of equipment that you could really ever have. And you take a piece of paper and you just keep writing. You write down all the different things that you want. Imagine for a moment that there is no limit. You know, you could have, because in reality, there really are no limits, but you could have whatever it is that you want to have. And you write down your top 100 ones, whether it's as crazy as wanting to learn how to fly a plane or buy a motorbike or to be an astronaut or whatever the case may be. No matter what it is, you need to write it down and you need to get that top 100 things that you want. And it's a very, very difficult exercise to do, really, because most of us, as I said before, most of us just really concentrate on what we don't want to have, the things that we don't want to appear. So I'll tell you a little story. My wife and I sat down one day to do this exercise, and I asked her to write down the top 100 things that she wanted. And after about 10 things, which were really, really practical things to do with the house, to do with the home, to do with job and maybe the kids, things that we wanted for them and as opposed to for herself, we we figured that it was a difficult job. So this thing, it might take up to a day, it might take you a couple of days, but whatever it is, it's really, really worth doing. Getting a piece of paper and a pen, and regardless of how practical or whatever it is, you take that time, you write down all of the top 100 things that it is that you want. Okay, then what you do is you start to narrow down that list of 100 things. So you begin to almost like a funnel, and you begin to narrow it down until you get into your top 50, your top 25, your top 10, and then maybe your top 5. And when it comes to setting goals for yourself, and making progress towards those goals, and you really need to think about setting one at a time. You know, it can be whatever size that you want, and of course you can work on multiple things at any one time, but one real goal that you want to achieve is because when we come to finding out a little bit later on in the conversation today how the mind works, and how the subconscious mind and the conscious mind and all those different things, how they interact together, you'll see that you don't want to be sending mixed messages within yourself. You want to be crystal clear on what it is that you want. I think one of the best people I ever heard talking about goals was a lovely lady called Esther Hicks. And Esther is very well known sort of in the area of the law of attraction. And we'll talk a little bit about the law of attraction later on, or the law of vibration. But she's very well known in that area. And she would say the exact same thing. People will always tell me what they don't want. They never tell me what they do want, but they always tell me what they don't want. And what I love about that is she says, well, if you know what you don't want, then you know what you do want. Because as soon as you're able to write down or able to say what it is that you don't want, well, then what you do want is the exact opposite to that. So it's it's simple enough. It can take a little bit of time, a little bit of effort to do it, but once you actually get into it and once you start doing it, it's simple enough to actually get down what it is that you want. And when you're thinking about the sort of things that you want, you really need to be using your imagination. We talk in the PGI a lot of the time about what we call a burning desire. And a burning desire is that desire to have something. So, you know, when you're a kid, you use your imagination and you decide what it is that you want to achieve. And then, you know, you are like a dog with a bone, as we say in Ireland. I know my kids can be incredibly dogged when it comes to what it is that they want, whether it's a biscuit or a sweet or something like that. And they're incredibly persistent with it because they have that burning desire within them to have that sweet or have that biscuit, whatever the case may be. And they're not going to let poor old daddy here get in the way of them getting it. So what they really want all the time is to achieve whatever it is that they've set their mind to, and kids are phenomenal when it comes to that, and it's something that unfortunately we lose a little bit as we get a little bit older, but we'll talk about later on about how we can get back to that again. So I suppose the first step in anything, in achieving any amount of success in whatever it is for you, because success is an incredibly personal thing, is deciding what it is that you want. And I know a lot of coaches and gurus would maybe have a little bit of something a little bit more complicated than what I'm suggesting, but I'm a huge believer in keeping it simple. I don't like overcomplicating things to come up with processes and all sorts of fancy terminology in order to do things. I'm a big believer in keep it simple. So because simple can be done by anybody. If I can do it, and I have done it, I have sat down and I have written down my list of wants, my list of desires. I've narrowed it down to my top 10. I've narrowed it down to my top 1, and I'm in that process of achieving one at a time. And for me, it's as good as done, as far as I'm concerned. Once I write it down on that piece of paper, and once I decide that it is that I want it, I know that I'm going to get it, as sure as tomorrow morning the sun is going to rise. Fingers crossed. So, what I would like to say again, success, as I say, 95% mindset and 5% systems. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It doesn't matter what your business is. You can be successful, have a successful toilet cleaning business, and the same way you can have a successful car rental business, the same way you can have a successful software business, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're in the right mindset, you can be successful at it. Bob would always talk about, I'll take a second actually and explain. I normally do at the beginning, but I kind of forgot to do it, and explain who the PGI are. The PGI is called the Procter Gallagher Institute. They're a company that I'm affiliated with as a coach. I went through one of their training programs a number of years ago to start off with as a student. And it was called the Thinking into Results program. It's actually the same program that I now coach people through. And Bob Proctor was the founder of the PGI, along with a lady called Sandy Gallagher. Sandy is still within the organization. Bob unfortunately passed away at the beginning of 2022. He was 87 years old, I think it was, and had spent 60 years of his life dedicated to personal development, dedicated to understanding how the mind works, to understanding what makes people successful. He tells the story of his own life that he started off at the age of 27. He was very unsuccessful. He was always sick and he was broke. He was earning 4,000 Canadian dollars a year. He's from Canada, or was from Canada originally, and he owed 6. So no matter, he could pay absolutely everything he earned, and he'd still be in debt. But in the space of 12 months to 18 months, he was changed his income from 4,000 to over $1 million. And what he did is he created a business. He created a cleaning business, and that's how he did it. And he operated in the Canada, in the US, and the UK. So after doing that for a number of years, he tried to understand, well, why have I been so successful? What is the switch that flicked in my mind, and why was I able to achieve what it was that I wanted to achieve? Because if we want to be able to pass this on to other people, we need to understand the reason why it is that we've achieved what we've achieved. And Bob couldn't do that. He didn't understand why it was that he did what he did and why he achieved the success that he achieved. He knew obviously exactly what it was that he had done in regards to the business that he'd set up, and the steps that he had taken, but why had he gone from being unhappy, sick and broke, to being happy, healthy and wealthy, within a couple of years later. And it was at that stage when he was introduced to the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and also to Dale Carnegie and or not Dale Carnegie, the Nightingale Conant Foundation out of Chicago, and they were the founders. Then they founded not just sort of the thinking into results, or the PGI, but they founded almost the self-help industry. And they began the notion of helping people to achieve more, helping people to be more, have more, and achieve more. And really, he spent 60 years of his life doing this and researching the entire time as to what it was that was helping him to be so successful, helping to then pass that knowledge on to other people like myself who are consultants for the PGI. And it was a phenomenal life that he lived. He earned millions of dollars, had businesses all over the world, had consultants in every country across the world. But more so than that, he helped thousands and thousands, if not probably hundreds of thousands of people to achieve their own goals by understanding some of the stuff that I'm going to go through with you throughout the broadcast here this evening. So, as I said, some of the information that I'm going to share with you has been distilled down from a lot of different sources, condensed into this information here, and it's really something phenomenal. I thank my lucky stars every day that I came across this information a few years ago. I've been doing this now for about 4 or 5 years. I love getting the opportunity to spend time with people, talking to people about their goals, helping them understand why it is they're doing what they're doing, and why it is sometimes that they're not achieving the results that they want to achieve. So what I'd also, like to ask is, down at the very bottom of the screen there now is our email address. So it's quantumleapconsultingirl@gmail.com. If you would like to find out some more information, I also have a present that I can give to anybody who's on the call here this evening, or anybody who sees this video at any time. All you got to do is drop me an email at quantumleapconsultingirl@gmail.com. And I will send you a copy of Bob's #1 New York Times best-selling book from about 20 odd years ago, called You Were Born Rich. And it goes into an awful lot more detail about some of the things that we're going to talk about this evening. And it's also, it's just absolutely phenomenal. It's a great read. I love it. I've read it, I don't know how many times. I've given it to how many people, I don't know, and everybody loves it. It is a great read. So, now that you have gone through, let's say, step 1, and step 1 is deciding what it is that you want, the next step from there would be to write it down. So we talk all the time in the PGI about the connection between writing stuff down and constant spaced repetition and your subconscious mind. I am going to share in a little bit how to look at your subconscious mind, or what your mind actually looks like, because this is something we need to be able to understand how the mind works if we're going to be able to change the mind. So when I say success is 95% mindset, not only is success 95% mindset, but would you believe it that 90% of what you do on a daily basis is controlled by something that we call a paradigm. And a paradigm is a set of habits, a set of behaviors that are programmed into your subconscious mind. So it's like you're operating on autopilot the whole time. Yeah. So it's like the operating system of a computer, and we've been programmed over the course of our lives to whatever point you are now in your life. So when you're very small, when you're a child and you are beginning to grow up, yeah, your parents and everybody around you, whether they know it or don't know it, are helping to program you and program the beliefs into your subconscious mind that will be your beliefs, believe it or not, for the rest of your life. A child from the age of about 0 up to around about the age of 7-ish, let's say, only operates on what we call the subconscious mind. And we break, within the PGI, we break down the mind into 2 different parts. We call it the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. Now, I'm not a trained psychologist, and I'm sure there'd be psychologists out there who would potentially disagree with me and say there are much more than 2 parts to the mind. And they're probably 100% correct. And there probably is a lot more to it. But for the simplicity, as if you remember what I said about wanting to keep things simple, for the simplicity of it, we're going to refer to the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind is the part of the mind that deals with your senses. So we have 5 senses, as what we call them: how we see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. And we're taught from the time that we're very small kids to live through our senses. So if I don't see it, it's not real. If I don't hear it, it's not real. If I can't touch it, it's not real. And everything that we get taught as a child, we get taught to live through our senses. When you're a very, very small child, you spend a whole lot of time using what we call our higher faculties. And we have 6 higher faculties that we can draw on. We don't really get taught about them within school or within life in general, because most people don't actually understand them. And your higher faculties are memory, reason, intuition, perception, imagination, and your will. Your imagination is one of the most powerful things that you have been gifted with. Everything that there has ever been, anything that has ever been done, has always started off in the imagination. If I look out my window, which I'm doing here now, and I can see the car outside the front, I know that that car was created twice. Once in the imagination of the designer, whoever designed it, whoever came up with the idea, the engineers who came up with the ideas for the batteries and the drivetrain, etc. And then once in reality, when it was actually all put together and actually physically made to appear on the driveway in front of me. So absolutely everything that has ever happened has always been, you can look at it, that it was created twice. Once in the imagination and once in reality. And that's a phenomenal thing when you think about it, that anything that you have around you, the computer that I'm doing this broadcast on, the lights that are around us, the screen, etc., every single thing has always started off in somebody's imagination. And somebody has taken the thought energy, yeah, and has helped to use that in order to create the physical thing that we can actually see, hear, smell, taste, and touch with our senses. So our senses feed into our conscious mind, and our conscious mind is what we call the thinking mind. And the reason why we focus on the conscious and the subconscious is because the thinking mind is also called your logical mind, and the conscious mind has the ability to accept or reject any thought that is impressed upon it. So we can go, oh, I don't like that idea, or I really don't believe what you're saying is correct, and I decide not to accept what it is that you're telling me. And then we don't pass that thought over into our subconscious mind. We reject it, we throw that thought out, and we replace it with something else that really we do believe. Now, I am going to share a screen here, okay? And on this screen, I am going to show a picture. Now, just before I do that, I'm going to explain something to you real quick. Our mind works in pictures. Everything that we think in pictures. In order to, as I said, to imagine anything and to create anything, we think about it and we think about it, and a picture of it flashes up on the screen of our mind. So anytime that we want to create something, anytime we want to change something, anytime we want to make something better, we always need to be aware of the fact that we think in pictures. Now, if I was to say to you, for example, to close your eyes right now and to think of your, let's say, think of your car. So you would close your eyes, you think of your car, and a picture of your car flashes up on the screen of your mind. You're able to see it there just as well as if you're standing right in front of it. You're also able to tell the details of it. You know, what ways did the door open? What color is it? Has it got big wheels, small wheels? Is it tinted glass, not tinted glass? What color is the interior of it? How many seats does it have? All of those things you're able to see in the screen of your mind. Okay? And the same thing if I was to ask you, let's say, about the office where you work. You know, you would close your eyes and you would be able to picture on the screen of your mind, what does your office look like? So the next question then is, close your eyes and think about the mind. What does the mind look like? And the reason why it's important to figure out what the mind looks like is because if we want to change the results that we have, if we want to choose a new destination and we want to think about creating something, or we want to have our destination of things that we want to achieve in order to be successful, we need to be able to imagine it, and we need to be able to change our minds. We need to be able to reprogram what we have been programmed with for the majority of our life up until this point. So if I ask you to close your eyes for a second and think about the mind, what is the picture that flashes up on the screen of your mind? And if you are like me, the first time I did this, and like the majority of the people that I talked to about this, I would almost bet that a picture of the brain flashed up on the screen of your mind. Now, the brain is a phenomenal piece of engineering, almost I would call it, but it is a phenomenal thing. But it is not your mind. Your mind is not within your brain. Your mind is actually within every cell of your body, because your mind is energy. In fact, everything is energy. Some things are energy, atoms and electrons held together by this energy, vibrating at a very high frequency, so that we think it is solid, like the desk, the computer, etc. But every single thing is energy. Now, I'm going to attempt now to draw a picture. And on this picture, I am going to show you what we use. We call it the stick man. And this is what we use to explain how the mind works. So, Chadi, if you are listening, you have already seen this picture drawn at the bar in Berlin. And this is what the mind looks like, or what we use to describe the mind. So you start off with a big circle and a little circle. And then we have two hands, two arms, and two legs. And we're going to draw a line straight across here, straight across the middle of the large circle. So, as I said, the brain is not the mind, but for the sake of making this nice and easy, we're going to let the big circle represent the mind, and we're going to let the little circle represent the body. Because there's one very, very important thing to understand. When we talk about the relationship between the mind and the body, the mind controls the body. The body is an instrument of the mind. Every time I move my arms, every time I move my hands, every time I smile or whatever, it is all because my mind has told my body to do it. And the brain is the one that actually sends the electrical impulses, etc., to the different parts of my body to actually execute the task. But it is my mind that has instructed the body, the brain, to do that. So, as I said, the mind is in every part of your body. So, and we are energy. Energy is in every part of our body. Okay, so we are going to have a look at this as the mind. We have the conscious mind and we have the subconscious mind. And as I said, the body down here is an instrument of the mind. The body does what the mind tells it to do. And if we look at it this way, we would say this is then an action. And then this gives you over here a big result. So we think a thought up here in the conscious mind. Yeah. So we have a think or a thought up here. We agree with that thought. So remember, in the conscious mind, we have the ability to accept or reject anything that's impressed upon it. The subconscious mind doesn't have that ability. The subconscious mind, once a thought, be it negative or positive, is impressed upon the subconscious mind has to accept it as real. It's just the way it is. And a really good way to look at this is two ways to look at it. One is the fun that you can have with little kids. So when you are talking to a little kid, you can make them believe anything that you want them to do, because they operate purely with the subconscious mind. It's, as I said, it's not until around about the age of 7 or 8 when they start to develop the conscious mind, the thinking mind, where they can turn around to you and go, well, I don't believe that. But up until that point, everything that they tell you to believe. So I've had great fun with my daughters with this over the years, and telling them all sorts of crazy things, and they go, yes, Daddy, we believe you. Okay, so you think a thought. This thought goes from the conscious mind over to the subconscious mind. This here, then, in the subconscious mind, this becomes a belief. So we believe that thought. And when we pass things from the conscious mind over to the subconscious mind and it becomes a belief, then what happens is that belief determines the behavior. Yeah. So that belief determines the action that the body takes. So the body is an instrument of the mind. The conscious mind thinks the thought. It goes over to the subconscious mind, which is then where it gets turned over to a belief. And then the belief drives the behavior, and the behavior then drives the action. And the action gives a reaction. I don't know if anybody would remember from physics. I know it's one of the things I remembered from my physics lessons in secondary school, is that to every action there's an equal but opposite reaction. And that's exactly what's happening here. We call it the law of cause and effect. So for every action, there is a reaction. So for most people, when they get to the point of being unhappy with their results, yeah, these are the results here, and they could be negative. So the results can be positive or the results can be negative. If they are negative results, what you would find most coaches will do, or most people who are coaches or mentors, they're going to come back here to this action, and they're going to say, do you know what, Adrian, you're doing something wrong, and I know what you're doing wrong, and I'm going to tell you what you need to change. And they're going to get me to do a different behavior. And sure enough, I'm going to change the behavior, and I'm going to do a different action down here, and then that's going to probably lead to a more positive result. I'm going to be delighted with myself. And I'm going to go, that's fantastic. My coach has cured everything for me, and he's told me what I need to do. I've done it, and then I've got my positive result. But what has failed to happen in this instance is we've failed to go back to the root cause. And the root cause of either the positive or the negative result, the root cause of it is your thinking. And your thinking then controls down here your beliefs. And your beliefs are what control your programming, and your programming, or what we call your paradigms. So as I said earlier on, your paradigms are a group of habits, beliefs and habits that are formed together. 90% of what we do on a daily basis is controlled automatically for us. We don't have to think to breathe. We don't have to think to have our heart pump and for the blood to go around our body. Nearly everything that we do on a daily basis is done by these controlled by this computer program. So if you think of your subconscious mind as the software, what has been programmed into it is the results that we get all the time. So if we want to have meaningful change, if we want to change these results, forever, and we want to change those negative results into positive ones, what we need to do is we need to not only go back to this step here, we need to go back to this step here, and potentially even to this step here, which is the conscious mind. To start off with, we're going to talk about here, the paradigms. A paradigm, if I can write it, so P-A-R-A-D-I-G-M, a paradigm. So a paradigm is, as I said, it is sort of a mixture of a belief with a habit. So belief, with the reason why we believe certain things, and religion is a good example of this, but I don't ever really want to get into talk about religion with people, is the belief that we have in certain things is because it's infused with emotion. Emotion is incredibly important when it comes to reprogramming these paradigms, to reprogramming your operating system, let's say, to allow you to operate in a different way, to change the actions that the body does in order to change and have permanent change of here from your results from a negative one to a positive one. And that is how you know whether the paradigms that you have are positive or negative, is by looking at the results. So if you're happy with the results, well, then your paradigms are the right paradigms for you. Can they be improved? Of course they can. But do they need to be radically improved? Probably not, because you're achieving the results that you want to achieve already. So if you are unhappy with these results, that's when you know you need to do something. And as I said, you need to go past this step. You need to not just go back to the action. These paradigms are built so deep into our subconscious mind that we can't change them. But what we can do is we can reprogram ourselves with more positive, with stronger, with better program or paradigms that will serve us and that will help us to achieve the results that we want to achieve. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, what we do is we need to be very aware of our thoughts. So we need to be making sure that we are being very careful about the thoughts that we think. Because if we don't control the thoughts that we think, and this is something that I wish every teenager in every country around the world would understand and would know, is that you have this ability, you have the power to accept and reject the ideas that are coming into your conscious mind. If you were to look at this, and this is how we normally draw it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have these little antennae coming out. So it almost looks like hair. So we've got these little antennae coming out from the top of the conscious mind. And what these are our senses, as I mentioned before. So this is how we see, how we hear, how we smell, how we taste, and how we touch. Yeah. Oops. So we don't have to accept everything that we see. We don't have to accept everything that we hear. I know I was told many, many years ago something to do with believe nothing of what you read and only half of what you see when it comes to the news. And you know, I think times have moved on from that. And I think we should believe probably nothing of what we see on the news these days, because we can obviously understand what's going on within the world, but we want to make sure that we protect our thoughts. Yeah, and we want to protect the thoughts that we're thinking and the thoughts that we then subsequently send over to our subconscious mind. So the reason why I say I wish every teenager in the world was aware of this is because I think an awful lot of the problem from people that they keep with them for pretty much their entire lives is the thoughts that they get internalized when they're kids and when they are in their teenage years. Because, you know, we all know kids can be cruel. Um, Kids tend to say things that they don't really mean at a certain age, and maybe sometimes they do mean them, or they say them just to be cool, or whatever the case may be. And I wish every teenager out there would understand that just because your friend or somebody else, one of your peers, says something to you, doesn't mean that you need to accept it. You can just go, that's not for me. I don't want to understand that. I don't want to think that. And we don't then pass it over to the belief. So this is step number one, is controlling what you're thinking. You need to control your thoughts. And the best way to control your thoughts is to not allow, or not to leave yourself open to negativity. People always used to say to me that I live in Adrian's world, and it's probably true. I do, because I choose not to accept negativity. If there is something that is negative, I go, well, that's fine. It is what it is. That's good. And I move on. And the exact same thing can be done by anybody. But we just, first of all, need to change how we think. There's a very good saying, quote, and I can't remember who said it, but it's something along the lines of 2% of people think, 3% of people think they think, and 95% of people would rather die than think. And it's kind of sad, but it is also very true. 95% of us are operating on these paradigms, our self-program, that we have been programmed ever since we were kids. We've taken on board everything that our parents have said to us. They've taken on board things that were passed down to them from previous generations. We've taken on board everything that has been said to us by our peers, by our teachers in school. When, Adrian, you're no good at maths, you'll never be any good at maths. What do I believe then? Oh, Adrian, I'm no good at maths. I can't do maths. Where it's not true. It is not true. There is, every single person on the planet has an unlimited potential. They have the ability to do, have, and be whatever it is that they want to be. And I believe this so much. You just can't sort of understand how much I believe this. So I keep going around in circles. First of all, we start off with our thoughts. So we reject any sort of negative thoughts. We go, nope, get out of here. I'm not accepting that. We're only going to accept positive thoughts. And we're going to take these positive thoughts and we're going to turn them over to the subconscious mind, and we're going to strengthen our beliefs. Now, to write a brand new paradigm in your subconscious mind, there are really two ways to do it. One way is through what we call a sudden emotional impact. Now, a sudden emotional impact, they're generally negative because it normally there's something that's happened really, really strongly, generally negative. I think the sort of things that sort of jump to mind most of the time, Bob used to use it quite often as an example, was 9/11. That was a huge emotional impact to nearly everybody around the world, but predominantly in the US. And that changed the programming in an awful lot of people's subconscious minds when it came to a lot of things. So the sudden emotional impact is something that's very hard to replicate. It's not something that you can easily do, and it's generally negative. So we tend to steer away from trying to coach people in that way. So the alternative way to do it is what we call constant spaced repetition. And what that is saying the same thing over again, over and over and over and over again, listening to the same thing over and over and over and over again, and writing the same thing over and over and over again. If you remember from what I said earlier on, the subconscious mind does not have the ability to reject, and it must accept anything that is impressed upon it with emotion. So what we need to do in order to reprogram our subconscious minds is we need to, in one way, let's say, trick our subconscious mind into believing that we have already achieved what it is that we want to achieve. What that new belief then will do will change the body and will change the actions that the body does. It'll set up new behaviors, and those new behaviors will create new actions, and those new actions here will create new reactions, and that's how we will change it to getting the results that we want. Okay, so an example of how to rewrite a paradigm. Let's say your goal is to have more money. It's a very common goal. An awful lot of people would say, "Oh no, money is evil. Money is not the most important thing. I believe in love. Love is more important." And 100%, I agree. Love is incredibly important, and love is one of the strongest emotions that you could ever come across when it comes to writing and rewriting your paradigm. Another one is gratitude. So being in a vibration of love and gratitude are the two strongest emotions when it comes to rewriting your paradigms and trying to tap into those emotions. Emotions really are what we call they're a conscious awareness of the vibration that our emotion that our bodies are in. So when we say that we're happy, we are consciously aware of being in a good vibration. When we're sad, we're consciously aware of being in a negative vibration. When we're angry or whatever, that's just the conscious realization of the vibration that our body is in. One of the 7 universal laws, and I won't have enough time to get into it this evening, but one of the 7 universal laws is the law of vibration. And the one law that most people sort of buy into or think about or have heard of the most is what we call the law of attraction. And the law of attraction is related to the law of vibration. Again, if you think about potentially what you might have learned in your physics classes in school, is that everything vibrates. Everything is in a vibrates on a certain frequency. And what we're trying to do is, with rewriting our paradigm, is we're trying to get our subconscious mind to vibrate on the same frequency as what it is that we're trying to achieve. And and the way to do that is to begin to feel and believe that we have already achieved it. By doing that, then that sets up the new behaviors within our bodies and their new actions that are then subsequently going to change the results over here. So a lot of time people will say the phrase, you fake it until you make it. I'm not a huge advocate of that particular saying, but I do believe about we're trying to trick to a certain degree our subconscious mind, to fool to a certain degree our subconscious mind, to believe that we have actually already achieved what it is that we want to achieve, hence setting up the right vibration in our subconscious mind to give us the right behaviors, the right actions in order to actually achieve it. Okay, so as I said, emotion plays a big part in rewriting that paradigm, and the emotions of love and gratitude are the 2 most powerful emotions when it comes to that. So when we are writing down our goal, I have a book here somewhere, and every morning when I get up, it's one of the first things that I do is I write down what my goal is, and I'm writing it down in the present tense. And this is going to be one of your key takeaways at the end of the hour, is that when you're writing down your goal, you're going to be writing it from what we call, you're writing it down in the present tense as if the wish is already fulfilled. So the sentence that we teach everybody within the PGI is, I am so happy and grateful now that, and then whatever it is that your goal is. So a great one that Bob used to always use for money is, I am so happy and grateful now that money flows to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a regular basis. I am so happy and grateful now that money flows to me in increasing quantities from multiple sources on a regular basis. And it's all about getting living from the wish fulfilled, is what we say. You're getting the subconscious mind to believe that you have already achieved what it is, and you're emotionally connected to achieving what it is that you've already achieved or want to achieve. And then that's how we are going to really rewrite that paradigm. Okay, now we are running close on time, but I wanted to, I'm just going to stop sharing that. There we go. So I hope that makes sense for everybody, that the only real way that is repeatable by absolutely everybody, anybody can do it, is to use constant spaced repetition. And this is what we teach within the Thinking into Results program. And the program itself is based upon that principle in order to try and reprogram your mind, so reprogram your subconscious mind. But here is one of my favorite things. Let me see. Why is that not showing? Aha. Here we go. Mindset and changing your mindset is something that you need to do yourself, but it's not something that you can do easily on your own. When you look at any successful business person, when you look at any successful athlete, let's see, Bob used to always use Tiger Woods, and I think it's a good one because he was, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best known sports people out there. But you could apply this to any team. You could apply this to pretty much any successful tennis player, any successful sports person, business person. Everybody out there has got a coach. And it's not that that coach is a better golf player than Tiger, or is a better tennis player than Novak Djokovic or anybody like that. It's that the coach is able to keep the person accountable and is able to help them work on the mind part of their game, not necessarily the physical part of the game. One of the things I know that from Bob and from Tiger Woods is he was, without a shadow of a doubt, the #1 golfer in the world. Yet he had a number of coaches, and one of the coaches was all about his swing. Now, he was so far ahead of everybody else. He was out there all on his own. He's the #1 golfer in the world for years, but he still was competing in order to try and make himself better. So he went out and he changed his golf swing, not once, not twice, I think 3 times. He actually changed his golf swing in order to get better. And when it comes to setting goals for ourselves, is the ultimate goal of goals is that it is to make us better. It's to help us to grow. We are it's to draw something out from within us that is in there already, but it's to make us grow. The things that we get on sort of as a byproduct of that are money, our houses, cars, whatever the case may be. But the real purpose of having goals in the first place is to grow and is to get better at what you do. So I think that has been a lot of information for everybody today. I hope everybody enjoyed it, but just to give a few sort of key takeaways from the 55 minutes so far. And the first one is on the steps to success. So if you were to ask me, well, how do I actually get to success? And step #1 is deciding what you want. So remember to do your homework after this, to go and to sit down and to write down your 100 wants, to narrow that down into your top 50, your top 20, your top 10, your top 5, and eventually down to the one that you want to work on first. One thing that I always say, it doesn't matter why you want what you want. All that matters is that you want it. And when you want it, you can achieve it. So decide on what you want. Nothing happens until you make a decision. So for an awful lot of people, they go, oh, maybe one day I'd like to possibly maybe have lots of money and retire early. I can guarantee you that person will never achieve the results that they want to achieve because they're not making the decision to actually start it. And that is step #1. Step #1 is making a decision. Nothing happens until you make a decision. People go all the time, oh, I don't have the money to do what I want to do. It doesn't matter. You don't need the money. You absolutely don't need the money until you make a decision to actually do it. And once you make the decision to do it, well, then the circumstances will come about whereby you're going to be able to figure out how to do it. So don't let any excuses get in the way. Decide what it is that you want. Step #2, write it down. You write it down on a goal card. You put this goal card into your wallet or into your purse or into your pocket. I've got 2 or 3 at any one time, gold cards, in my wallet. I carry around it with me all the time. I write it down every single day. As I say, I have that's step number 3 is the repetition, constant spaced repetition. So you're repeating it every morning when you wake up. You're repeating it every evening when you go to bed. One of the things that I used to do, and I think it works really well, is on the bedside locker beside where you go to bed, you have your goal written. In the mirror in your bathroom where you're brushing your teeth, you have your goal written, and it is there in front of you all the time. So it's the last thing that you see before you go to bed at night, and it's the first thing you see in the morning when you wake up. And as you're standing there brushing your teeth, you're saying, I'm so happy and grateful now that, yeah, and whatever it is that your goal is. Then you repeat it over and over and over again. Mobile phones are fantastic. You can record yourself talking about your goal, repeating it over again. You listen to it. Anytime you're in the car and you're driving somewhere, you can put it on, you can listen to it. If you're going out for a walk in the morning time, put in your earphones and you can listen to it. It's all about ensuring that at all times, this is what you're thinking about. So step number 1, decide what you want. Step number 2, write it down on your goal card. Step number 3, repeat it over and over and over again. Step number 4 is understanding how your mind works and rewriting that paradigm. You need to bury that picture into the screen of your mind so you understand what the mind looks like. Because if you want to change anything, you need to be able to understand what it looks like. Remember I said earlier on, we think in pictures. So if you can't imagine it in the screen of your mind, you can't imagine how to change it. And that's what you need to do. You need to be able to change your mind in order to change your results. And then step number 5 can be quite often the most difficult one. Step number 5 is just do it. Get out there and get it. Yeah. Don't give yourself any excuses. You have the ability to do it. If you were to talk to any sort of scientist, any sort of philosopher, they all believe that we have unlimited potential locked up within ourselves. There is no reason why you cannot achieve what you want to achieve. You just got to have that belief in yourself that you can do it. And that's what you're going to do by reprogramming your paradigm. You're going to have that belief in yourself. You're going to use that belief to change the actions. And those actions are going to give you the results that it is that you want to achieve, no matter what it is. I believe so much that we can be, do, and have whatever it is that we want to be, do, and have. All we got to do is understand. Now, I'm going to put on the bottom here a book recommendation. Now, this book, I'm not affiliated with it in any way, shape, or form, but it is like a Bible for me. It's called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It is Napoleon Hill, really, really quickly. Napoleon Hill wrote this book at the early of the 1900s. There was a guy called Andrew Carnegie. Some people might remember Andrew Carnegie. He was, at the time, he was sort of the Bill Gates, the Elon Musk of his time. He was the most influential. He was the richest man in the world. He owned American Steel over in the US, and he built libraries all over the world as he retired and as he was getting older. But he employed Napoleon Hill, or tasked Napoleon Hill, and introduced him to 500 of the most successful people in the world at that time. Napoleon spent about 20 years researching this book, and when he wrote it and compiled it and put it all together, it's the essence of what made the most successful people in the world successful. It's a little bit old-fashioned in the writing, but the message is phenomenal. And there are basically 13 steps or parts to being really, really successful. What I would also like to offer anybody is, if they wanted to copy down this Linktree link here, this is my details where all of my contact details are. You can WhatsApp me from there. You can catch me on TikTok, believe it or not, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, and all the other social media platforms, Instagram, etc. Linktree / Coach Adrian. And last but not least, this is something that you need to remember. Your thoughts control your feelings. Your feelings control your actions, and your actions control your results. So, or in other words, you become what you think about. Every single successful person that there ever was and walked the face of the planet would probably disagree with everybody else about most things, but they would all agree on this. You become what you think about. If you're constantly thinking that you're unhappy, broke, and sick, guess what? You're going to be unhappy, sick, and broke. If you're constantly thinking you're happy, healthy, and wealthy, guess what? You're going to be happy, healthy, and wealthy. It has to happen. Okay, so control your thoughts. You become what you think about. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk with you this evening. Here's my email address again, quantumleapconsultingrl@gmail.com. If anybody sees this and drops me a quick email, I will forward you a free copy of Bob Proctor's You Were Born Rich, New York Times #1 bestseller, a phenomenal book. And if anything that I have said this evening has resonated with anybody, I'd be delighted to have a chat with you. Again, on my link tree, you'll be able to book a discovery call with me, whereby we can have a no obligation half-an-hour chat. I get to know you a little bit better and see if what I do can help you. I know it can, if you want it to. So thank you guys very, very much. That's it. I appreciate your time this evening, and I can't wait to talk to you all again. Take care. Have a great evening, and go out there, make it happen. I'm so excited to see what people can actually achieve. It's the bit that gets me up out of bed in the morning time. I love it. Take care. Be good.